Thank you, Didier, for staying today with us. Didier Rebois is the French founder and General Secretary of Europan, a unique competition and ideas project in Europe that emerged in the wake of the revolutionary changes of 1989. Today, Europan is a powerful tool for European cities and urban stakeholders to develop innovative strategies for the ecological and social transformation of the city and the territory. And you are coordinating this big structure. Our first question is about this incredible structure of Europan itself. Every 2 years, a numerous group of cities set out to reflect on their future urban development with the help of the national structures, the European structure, experts, juries, and of course, the young practitioners with their specific projects. Can you describe what is for you the core of this structure?
I would say that the main role of Europan through the competition, and for me it's the core, even if it's a long process, is to favorize the creation of synergies between the different steps of the competition that is really specific to Europan. First is the strategic question asked by the responsible that gives the site to the competition all over Europe. And the second element to connect is, of course, winning ideas that are designed by young European professionals, talented, and these ideas are not still the definitive answer to the city question, but already they propose some vision or hypotheses, a new way to produce regenerative projects adapted to the context. And the third element is important in Europan, that is the most complicated to organize, is the process of implementation. After the winning ideas, we consider this period of implementation process as a negotiation between the different actors, where the design has to be at the same time very strong on the main ideas, but of course adaptable, because the negotiation introduces local realities, very often moving in time. So the synergy of Europan, if we can say, operate when all these ingredients of a process mix together around the transversal theme.
Thanks, Didier. We have another question for you. This exhibition deals with in-between spaces. Basically, what Europan does is also transnational design work in the in-between of different experiences on future themes. The often multinational design teams regularly realize their contribution in such a collective exchange that combines, for example, a Spanish experience with a Nordic one. Why is this co-production so effective? And could you cite a recent example which has impressed you?
So you ask for an example, so I can give you around the concept of porous city, the work of a Spanish team from Madrid, Arenas Basabe Palacios, that through several sessions developed their concept, and they won several times in different cities in Europe. And in Vienna, particularly in Austria, they can experiment their idea in a build project for a new district, a huge district of 1,000 housing, more facilities and public space. And what is interesting, they use the competition to propose something new as a design. They explore the traditional urban block and conceive spaces where the built and the open space in between are equivalent, without a hierarchy, but with clear statute. And they cohabit in a contextual adaptation of density, of ratio green built, of volume, of typology, adapted to their environment. You can see here that the in-between space constitutes a main part of the matrix of this large district.
Didier, the last 6 rounds of the European competition focused on overarching European themes, such as adaptable city, productive city, living cities, and now in Europan 18, the theme of resourcing. And Europan has always played a major role in this kind of, I would call it, translation of urban and architectural knowledge. And it has developed its own special vocabulary. So our question is, what sentences would you use to describe the European city of the next few years? What are the essential components to preserve its uniqueness and its move into the future at the same time?
First, I want to recall that each theme of Europan is both linked to the previous ones, but exploring a new aspect in each session, like you told, adaptation or the urban mixity, which introduce the productive space inside the city. So Europan themes are not only or ecological or social, but we work on the idea of hybridity and synergy of the themes to consider the design as a complexity. We broaden our regard from the urban scale to what we call today the inhabited milieu, which integrates the landscape, but also different type of human settlements. We explored different contexts of rurality, of suburbanity, which have been damaged by the urbanism of the period of the Anthropocene, where men wanted to control all the production of space, and where regenerative projects must today reuse and repair this milieu. So what we can to strengthen today on the term throughout different themes, but also the site and project, is not only the space, but also new way to design this regenerative project, respectful of the potential rural and social dynamic of a place, in order to enrich it, but for the profit of inhabitants, human and non-human. We explore the approach of the care. It's a concept that comes from the health sector, but that we try to transfer in our domain in order to think what could be the new way to taking care of this milieu, and particularly of vulnerable and fragile milieu exposed to climate change and present in numerous sites we have in the session. As an example, I will refer to a project currently being implemented in France. It's a regeneration of a campus of the 70s in the city Besançon, but which was totally disconnected from the city itself. The project of Winding Team Altitude Certified by strengthening the landscape, taking into account the geology, the geography, the climate, but also introducing a new urban way to use or to inhabit a campus. They generate the creation of active public spaces at large scale, but also at proximity scale, to link the campus to its natural environment, but also to a new programmatic dynamic to create living space able to be appropriate to and by the student.
Perhaps one last personal comment. You are also an incredible expert in what is happening in different countries in Europe, and the new theme is resourcing. Can you cite an example of what you saw on your travels which really impressed you regarding this new theme of resourcing and resources in the cities, in architecture?
Yes, of course. It's clear for me that when we visit the countries, but also the sites, we can see the sort of dramatic and complex situation today, and of course, impacted by the climate change. For example, I can just give an example of the site in Chiva in Spain, where there is a sort of valley inside the city with a river, small river, but with the last big change of climate with the rain, this city was totally flooded. And of course, it's a dramatic situation. It's an extreme situation. But perhaps if this problem has been taken in charge before, perhaps it was possible to avoid this terrible problem. And I think that today we try to introduce with this idea of resources, what are the main ingredients in a local level to avoid and to diminish the impact of this big change of climate. So it's important to say that it's, for me, the main element we have to take in charge, we can say, is the question of the risk. The risk is before the catastrophe. So we can say that it's important to take them into account, but in a design process.
Didier, very, very last question. We are the end of March 2025, and Europan has just started. Is it true?
Yes, it's a good coincidence. Europan 18th session will start on the 3rd of March. It's a period of the competition itself, and it will finish in end of July, in June. And the topic is resourcing, and we developed the idea that there is natural resources, but also social resources, and also material resources, and all the type of resources have to be connected in the design. So it's the main question we ask to the competitor for the next session. And I hope that a lot of young professionals of different origin and countries will participate.
Thanks a lot, and we are looking forward to the contributions.
Thank you to you.